This is how I wish all my chairs were, like at home. I'd love tall chairs, tall tables, tall chairs, everything.
Long legs.
We used to have
Yeah.
a bed that was so tall, but Polly couldn't get into it anymore. It was so tall. But it was great, I love tall.
Ours is,
Yeah.
I need a bed rail.
Did you go 1, 2, 3, jump?
Yeah, but yeah. Hey, so
Here we are.
talking about creation, talking about, so we went through Revelation, we went through Genesis, most of Genesis 1 last time, and just to review, God was the only one there, and so we're listening to, there's historical science and there's observable science. Observable science is what you can do today. You can observe, you can test, you can repeat, and you get science. But historical science is looking from what's already been. It's you can't go back, and all you can do is interpret what you see as opposed to experience what you see. So God was the only one there. He cannot lie. This is all review from last week, and he has no reason to lie. He has no reason to deceive us. He has no reason. But creation expresses his glory, we saw. And Genesis was recorded for us thousands of years before Darwin, so he's not, in a debate with him or anything. And remember, he chiseled, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. He chiseled that into stone. That's one of the 10 commandments, explanation of one of the 10 commandments. And so then we also saw that those 5 aspects of how we can know the universe are all in Genesis 1:1, in one single verse. Billy, she's got a paper for you over here.
Okay, I'll go over there.
And that's in the beginning, so there was time. Then God, force, created, so there's energy expressed. The heavens, space, and the earth, matter. The heavens, space, and the earth, matter. And remember, each day God spoke, and what he said was immediately completed that day. It wasn't a million years later or a billion years later. That day, he spoke, it happened, and he blessed it. Then God specifically defined a day for us. We saw that in verse 5. Each day is a solar day. God saw that the light was light. God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day. He called the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was morning. That's one day. And he repeated that with every single creation day. And then God said, earth was made from water. 2 Peter 3:5 confirms that earth was made from water. But we're all told it was a molten planet, So it's just different things that In 3 days, it was a beautiful paradise. On day 3, there was the plants and everything was beautiful. And in 1 week, it was filled with fish, birds, and animals, and Adam and Eve. And then still review, God said earth was created before the stars, and trees were created before the sun, which just throws people off. Evolution claims the stars existed billions of years before the earth, but God says the earth existed days before the stars. When God created the stars, he made them fully operating, remember, lighting the sky for his purpose, to be signs and seasons. And when God made Adam and Eve, he gave them mature bodies ready to reproduce. Even the plants had seeds in them. So everything was just ready to go, ready to explode with life, as opposed to God created each plant and animal species after its kind. So there's incredible amount of diversity within each kind. So there's evolution can take place within each kind. There's new whales have been, there's a, I can't remember what it's called, but I just read an article the other day of a species of whales. But it's a combination of 2 whales. Whales can mate, but they don't, like Jim said last week, but they don't crawl out of the water and suddenly have all this new DNA, new information, new coding, and they walk or whatever. Because you don't just evolve new things. Everything's coded, right? And so who's doing the coding and stuff? How do I suddenly, just because out of necessity, have legs, and, you know, all that. We talked about that and had kind of fun with that last week. I'll end with this. Each day followed a similar pattern. God said, and it was so. It immediately happened. By day's end, God said it was good. And he concluded each day. There was evening, there was morning, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, etc. Little reading resource there. I just saw this was a single article, but it was a good article. You can tap that in and find that.
That's pretty good, by the way. They have a lot of questions. I think there's one called Questions Genesis or something like that.
Yeah, there's questions, there's creation, there's answers in Genesis,
Yeah.
and then there's ICR, Institute for Creation Research.
Yes, I'm familiar with that one
Yeah.
as well. But the questions around some of the things that, like, for example, Noah's flood and so on, are not in the text, but it certainly implies, and they did some mathematical things around how long the ark was floating out there, and it actually says it, but there's just some interesting insight that goes just beyond a normal way of
Yeah.
looking at it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it fills in the kind of the blanks for you.
Yeah,
with that.
excellent.
By the way, Genesis 1, the one you just went over, the other aspect of Genesis 1 is polemical. You know what I mean by polemical?
No.
It means that Moses was writing this as a polemic against the gods of the pantheon. So if you look at a lot of the gods of the ancient Near East, they're all tied to creation. So the god of the sea, the god of the land, they're all connected and come from the land and the sea, and so on and so forth. What he's saying here is that God is non-derived. He created, but he's not derived from creation in any way or in any sort. That's important to remember, first of all, but also, and there's also the other aspects of the ancient Near Eastern pantheon that Moses is combating here. I don't want to go into it, but that one is a big one. Every other creation account, other creation accounts, they all connect their deity to the element that is being, shown. If it's the sea, the god comes from the sea, and therefore he blesses, and the god of the land, and he put gods in all of these things. Moses is saying, that ain't what happened.
You see that also when Moses is, with the 10 plagues.
Yes.
Each of those plagues is against one of those
Gods of
gods and
Egypt.
stuff. It's interesting. All right. Man and woman. Just we kind of, well, I guess we read a little bit of this, but we pretty much stopped with Genesis 1:26. But it's here, and I know we can all read it, but if somebody would read it loud, Genesis 1:26 through 31.
Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." Keep going.
Yep, yeah, the whole
Okay.
thing.
God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over it, the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed, it shall be food for you. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth, which has life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day.
Awesome, thanks, Mike. Hey, does anybody on the bottom of their sheet have page 3? Is everybody page 1?
1 of 13.
1 of 13.
1 of 13, yeah,
2 of
okay.
13.
Yeah, I did create, I had all my questions and everything on page 3. No worries.
Steve, I got a question. real
Yes,
quick.
sir.
So, the reason there it says, you know, you can eat all the fruits and plants, and then it says again, you can, I've given every green plant for food, but it doesn't specifically say about animals.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, right after.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Yeah, no, animals are
Every
given.
assumed.
No, it's not assumed. It stated there.
Every beast of the earth and to every
Yeah.
bird.
What verse is that?
Number 30.
I mean,
Okay, so here's it should be food for you and to every beast of the earth and to every bird of the
Okay,
sky and to
so
everything.
those
that moves in
aren't
the earth.
separate
I've
thoughts?
given every green plant for food.
those aren't separate thoughts.
Well, it might be separate thoughts, but they still have the same point. Both man and animal are given plants for food.
Okay.
Are you asking, like, it
Yeah.
was basically like a vegetarian diet until the fall? Or,
There's a total vegetarian diet before the fall.
I was just, I don't know, I've seen something
wow.
kind of.
Total vegetarian before the fall. Why? What's
Shedding of blood.
shutting?
The-
No death. It was
Yes,
good.
No
yeah,
doubt.
yeah.
Everything was good. But we can't perceive what good really looks like, you know? There was no death. There was no illness. There was no rickets. There was no cancer. There was no everything. It was good. And by the end of the day, or by the end of the sixth, everything was very good, as Mike just read. And so there is no death.
We shouldn't be killing animals.
So far, everything is good, and there's no death. They shouldn't kill animals. We'll talk about that as we go, because things do change, and God does
Yeah.
change things. And even both in Genesis he changes it, then also in Acts he changes it with like unclean food. Remember that picnic basket thing that came from the sky, and eat, you know. So
Yeah, Peter.
it's okay. In fact, one of the great things, one of God's favorite things is barbecue food. You know, smoked meats and stuff, man. He smells that smoked meat. That's an aroma, a fragrance that pleases him and stuff. Saying. By the way, no, that's what he. It was an aroma pleasing to the Lord. And then all the priests got to eat that, you know, and the people celebrated all their forgiveness and stuff. Yeah.
Barbecue
You wanted to be.
Steve.
That's why they all wanted to be priests.
Now, it's saying that we can eat meat, but then you're saying that they didn't kill the animals, so how did they eat the meat?
They didn't eat meat at this
Not
point.
didn't eat meat?
All they're eating is the
Green
plants that he
Genesis.
gave. That's what he gave. Yeah, every plant that has seed bears fruit
Every
that's what I was saying.
beast of the earth and to every bird.
of the sky. And to
So he
everything.
wants every beast to eat and every bird to eat.
That's right. Everything was vegetarian at that time. Everything was vegetarian at that time.
And then I looked up, I said, where is that? Where is the Garden of Eden? And one time you told us we don't know.
You can't, you'll never know.
But the computer said it was just outside of Jerusalem.
Yeah, so that's bogus. Why is it bogus? Why will you never know where the Garden of Eden
Because
was?
you said something about
Flood.
the flood.
Yeah, a flood totally wiped everything changed. The massive, catastrophic changes to the Earth's everything. Yeah, so you don't know where anything is. Everything
We
was
could be
wiped
sitting
out.
on
There was no rain. There was no rain until then.
It was a beautiful canopy. Yeah,
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 there was a mist.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, God created man, verse 27. So we have design, we have purpose, we have worth. Again, evolutionary theory sees man as random product of time and evolution, without purpose, without goal, without design, without esteem. Yet God intentionally designed mankind and created humans entirely unrelated to animals, where there's no relationship to us and the animals. Oh, we're animals. No, we're not animals. We are so far above animals. And it's not just biology that sets us apart. Man is made in God's image, right? Which most separates us from the animals. But we are raised to believe that we came from chimps. We are raised to believe that we came from all that stuff. And even just whatever books you're reading, it's it's all over the place. You have to really be thinking and see it, you know, to realize that they are indoctrinating me.
Yes,
They're
yes.
making this
Yeah,
great
yeah.
assumption,
Yeah.
but it's not true. And again, everybody looks at the same evidence. We look at the dinosaurs, we look at the fossils, we look at the carbon dating, we look at all that. And the materialist evolutionist looks at all that too. We say there's a God, and so we build our understanding of all the evidence based on what God tells us. They look at the same things we look at, but they build it on the fact in their mind that there is no God. Everything is material. Therefore, they have their assumptions, and it's got to have taken billions of years. It's got to have taken this. It's got to have been this. It's got, you know, and they're not looking at different evidence. They're looking at the same. They're just interpreting it different. Keziah.
Oh, but even with that, it's so interesting because they still can't explain it. So they have the missing links, they have all these gaps, and then there are just additional theories that come out of that. So looking at it from a creation perspective, everything makes sense, and you don't have to just say, oh, well, we have this, 1,000 years of something that happened to get from here to here, but we don't know what that is. So there are, even the evolution from chimps to, or amoebas to chimps to humans, like there is a missing link somewhere, we don't know what it is, but it had to be there to explain where we are now. So
Yeah.
it still doesn't make sense from their theory.
Yeah, and so they're still looking for missing links. They've found some. They believe. We'll talk about that. But that missing, no, that's perfect. But that missing link thing is a huge thing. But for Darwin, if there's no missing link, what I'm saying doesn't work. And it's been however many years, 200 years since that, and there's still no proven missing link, even though there's Lucy, there's Neanderthal, there's Australopithecus, there's Piltdown Man, but we'll talk about that. Okay. Yeah,
I was just gonna make
yeah,
a
Pat.
strange comment, but just
Good.
in society, way back when I was little, you'd hear this, oh, you cute little monkey, the little babies.
Oh,
I
right.
mean, it's just
Yeah.
statements like that,
So one of my all-time
Like
favorite sports
invasion,
announcers is Howard Cosell.
yeah.
Howard Cosell, yeah. Monday Night Football, Frank Gifford, Dandy
Yes, I
Don
remember
Meredith,
that's
and
how he got-
Howard
Wait.
Cosell.
Yeah.
That's how he got fired.
And he got fired
on
because
Monday
Art Monk,
Yep.
who was, Art Monk was a tall one. Art Monk's co-receiver, this is like 1970 something, so it's like, but, I'll think of the name later. But he caught the ball, and he was this little guy, man, and he was just running through
Yeah.
all these guys. He was like, look at that little monkey go!
I
And
think it was Darryl Green. I think it was a defensive back.
no,
It
it
wasn't?
might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been. But yeah, and he was like top billing. He got fired
Yeah.
that night, I
Because of
think,
that?
because of
Wow.
that
Yeah, I
statement.
remember that.
And now it's a racist statement, but it used to not be a racist statement. It used to be just a
Comment.
comment.
So,
Yeah.
so why did they fire him if it wasn't considered racist?
Well, it
then?
was considered
Oh, it
racist at
was.
that
Oh, okay.
time.
Oh, yeah.
But Pat's point is, at one point, yeah,
It's
just that
beating
link.
bread,
At the
just,
yeah.
Well, interesting thing I just thought of, maybe this whole thing of allowing evolution to be indoctrination in the classrooms has led to where we are today, where
Oh, racism.
all this, so much more indoctrination, because they were able to do it then, so they just extended it further out.
yeah.
Yeah, and there was a good debate and
Okay, I
strong.
have something to say.
But the thing
Spirit
about
in the
Darwin is a lot of racist things come out of his theories and stuff. So because we're not all equal. We're not all from Adam and Eve. We're from different limbs of the same tree, but different limbs. Lineage. But yeah, just with that, whatever the tree, I'm seeing an image in my mind, and so yeah, just different branches from that. But white people came from, according to some of these very early Darwinists, the better stock or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we all came, from one couple. And even now, science has now determined that we do all derive from one couple. So that's changed recently.
That's
But-
right.
So at its core,
Genome. Human genome.
Darwinian
Yeah.
is racist at its core, really.
I think so.
Hitler used it.
And it was designed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's
Is it the survival of the fittest?
Yeah.
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 We're fit, you're not.
Yeah.
You don't deserve
Yeah.
to survive.
That's right.
Wow, yeah, the whole Aryan.
Yeah, Aryan race.
Can there be evolution within the creation theory?
Well, some would say yes. And I'll say within, the Bible doesn't allow crossing species.
Yeah.
Humans evolve, humans change. Monkeys evolve, monkeys change. There's all sorts of different monkeys from very few monkeys. But monkeys don't become humans. Fish don't become
Yeah.
birds, So there is evolution
The evolution of species.
within
species.
kinds. Yeah.
Humanity has evolved since Adam and Eve began
Yeah.
humankind,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, you might say we've devolved.
Right, yes.
I mean, I went to the Galapagos, and you could definitely see the evolution within species when I was over there.
100%.
And talked that through and stuff. Yeah.
100%, yeah.
Within
I mean,
species,
Christians
it
are
doesn't
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No, but I'm just saying evolution has a place.
within species.
Within species,
Yeah.
but doesn't
Within
cross to
species.
the next.
Exactly.
Well, I
And that was his whole thing about after its kind, after its kind. He said it 10 times in that, after its kind. There's no crossing over. Linda?
STCC, the second class, I was in the second class when it was turned into a college.
Wow.
Yeah, and science class, he was talking about evolution, and the whole class is just believing him. But then we had partners because we dissected a pig. the
Yeah.
pig. And my partner, he was just so cool. And the teacher's talking about evolution, and he's going, creation! And then he would talk again, and everybody's believing evolution, and he's walking out the door, creation!
Who calls out
Great.
creation?
My partner.
Oh,
Nice.
I thought-
Good. In school.
Bold.
In school.
It's good.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, verse 27. God created man in his image. And so, again, he created us with the ability to know. So when we're talking his image, we don't look like him necessarily in that sense, but we have the ability to know him. The animals don't. To relate to him, to receive love, to trust, to serve, to worship God. And this, being created in God's image, not only are we not derived from the animals, but hand-formed, but now we're also given the worth and dominion and esteem of being in God's image. Genesis 9:6 says, whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God he made man. So why is it okay for chimps to kill other chimps or sharks to eat fish? We don't get upset if lions kill lions or if bear mauls another bear. But for a man to kill a man, or even an animal to kill a man, male or female, is a grave sin, and a life will be taken for that. So why is it okay for chimps to kill other chimps, but not for man to kill man?
Because we expect it in the animal kingdom.
Well, they don't, we have reason and we have a consciousness and in these things to where we can think these things through, and a lot of their stuff is based on instinct, so they don't have that process in their brain.
But
so
is
we
it
don't
wrong
hold-
for them? Is
Huh?
it wrong for a lion to kill another lion?
No,
No, because it's for the survival of their
nature.
species.
It's their nature.
Well,
Sure,
but
so
if
it-
my survival for my species, food's getting short, I want to kill somebody so I can, what's the difference?
But, like I said, we also have the reason, they're both of those things.
My
together.
reason, I've determined I really want to kill.
God
These
created
are
us
their
in his
rules
image.
designed by.
Thank you.
that's it, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What'd he say?
Because we're made
We
in
are
his image.
created in God's image.
And the-
That's what he
animals
says
weren't.
right here.
So why would you kill a piece of God? Is that what?
Just
that what you-
for for me to take someone's life, for me to look at anybody with disdain, I'm looking at the image of God. He is just saying, so in evolution, you are the greatest thing you are, you're stardust. right? Ooh, stardust. But God is saying you were hand formed from Adam, and I breathed my life into you, and I created you in my image. And because you bear, and none of us realize it, we don't see it, it doesn't mean as much to us as it does to God, but we bear his image. And so if you kill somebody who bears the image of God, which is everything, and he says, take your life. And it's worth it. In fact, you're wrong if you don't. Government, not
But it's okay to
us.
depopulate, right? Because, I mean, we're preserving the environment, we're preserving the earth for
Yeah, he doesn't say
mankind.
to multiply and fill the earth. So, there's something about us being created by God different than evolution. There's something about us being created in his image. Then also the whole male and female. So this Genesis, and I know we're not getting into all the science and stuff of all this, but just Genesis 1 and who man is, who we are, is astounding. Male and female, he created them. So here again is design, here is unity, here's distinction.
No third gender.
No third gender. Here's order. Here's purpose. But also with no third gender, no confusion.
Yeah.
Right, no chaos,
There's no
right.
confusion. There's no brokenness.
Yeah.
All those things that lead to that. But there's purpose. In Genesis 2, there are specific pronouns. She and her are linked to the woman. He and his are linked to the man.
They are them.
It's just, but it's God's
They got
creation.
it wrong. Moses got it wrong.
They got it wrong.
You messed up.
Yeah, but it's sin, it's brokenness, it's confusion.
Yep.
So God blessed them, gave them dominion over the planet and all that is in it, and he ordered them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, rule over it. That's all in verse 28. So besides the whole gender thing, here also is a very, how do people want us to treat the planet today? How do they want us to treat population? What is the view?
Death.
Subdue it, rule over it, fill the earth, yeah.
You're
I think that's
asking
what God
the
wanted.
government?
Yeah.
Or
Wait,
Sorry, God wanted us to rule over it.
Right.
People
Do it, rule
now
over
want
it.
us to let it, like the
Well, it's
earth
because
is
the devil is very active these days,
The
which
earth
is
is
why
more
we have
important
they and
than
thems.
so God is though, God's goal here is to fill the earth. We are taught, again, not to fill the earth. It's wrong to fill the earth. There's not
Right,
enough
right.
food,
We
there's
have
not
to
enough,
depopulate.
overpopulation. And I really
Overfishing
think
the
deep
oceans,
into
all
to each of us, we think that it's wrong. And so there is, abortion is a good because it keeps the population on. Death, what is it, where you help somebody, assisted suicide.
Euthanasia.
It's euthanasia. But then also just contraception across the globe. So because we believe that the earth has so few resources and more people ruin it for everybody. But God is telling us, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. God is a creator, and he's given us dominion, but he's also given, we're not creators, he's creator ex nihilo, creator out of nothing. There was nothing, and he made everything. But now there's all this stuff, and he's still having us create. But creating orchards, creating farms, creating dams. The more man carries out his real role, the more food is sustained, the more life is sustained. God's not wrong in telling us to fill the earth. But we're wrong in denying that, but then also, we think that if we just let nature be, Mother Nature knows best, let nature be. And God's telling us, no, you need to tend it. You need to harvest. You need to do these things. There's a movie, end of the world movie, and it had
Farrell Smith?
Not Farrell.
Will Smith?
Will Smith. He's in it. What's the name of the movie? It's the end of the age, and he's like
Yeah,
the
he's
only
the
guy.
only one in the movie?
He's the only one in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Legend.
yeah.
I am
Well,
legend.
I Am
Yeah.
Legend. But when it first opens up, the scene opens up, and it's in the middle of a city, but the city's not only in ruin because of the war or whatever, but it's in ruin because plants have overtaken everything, and you know the roads are all broken up with plants coming through, and there's something about man. Without man, Earth needs us.
Right.
The way it's created, the way it's designed, and the way He
'Cause
created
that's
us.
what he
But
intended
just
to
look at
fill
a
the earth.
garden. If you don't tend the
Yeah.
garden, what
Yeah.
happens to it?
Yeah.
All the weeds and everything.
Who can tend
All
the
weeds
garden?
come through.
Right.
So you have to tend the garden for the fruit.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, another thing on the opposite is going on what he told us to do. Like the nuclear family is basically what he's saying. And now we're trying to say we don't need the nuclear family, that we need to commit chemical engineering and other means to create life so we don't even need that anymore.
Right.
It's the exact opposite of what God wanted us to do.
That's right.
Yes.
So that's why we need to know this, and not just to react, but to understand, you know, what is true, and to uphold what is true. You know, yeah. So, yeah. Again, we're not chiefly consumers on the other side and polluters, but we're stewards, we're creators, we're producers. And so God made the birds, the fish, the animals, but He gave mankind dominion over them, stewardship, responsibility for the whales, you know, for bald eagles, for lions, for dodo birds, you know, all those things.
Would you agree that we've done a bad job at it?
I think when you look at how many things aren't around anymore,
Yeah,
you know, I
right?
think we have.
So do you think that that is, sort of a statement to support things like the WWF, where like they're protecting like endangered animals, or like trying to keep plastic out of water, or like, I mean, so the earth is not more important than people. It's not Mother Earth
Right.
versus God's plan to populate the earth, but it's still our job to protect it and care for it
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some,
100%.
okay.
So here's where I'd be, though. I'd be doing it out of faith rather than out of fear. You know, if we can know who we are, know what the planet is, and take that role, I think we'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But sin and everything else. But to me, most of what I'm hearing, reactions, you know, by 2050, no, you know,
Right.
most of it's out of fear, and it's based on limited resources, based on man's inability, based on the fragility of the planet, based on that we are its only hope, you know, and we're the ones, and there's just, it's more reactive fear than confident in God's leading and caring, you know. So I think we do it with our backyards or whatever. We take care, we care, we understand, we preserve.
Right.
But the world itself,
Yeah.
and it seems like most of the decision makers are fear-based, but I think the church has failed on this part, as well as so many others, but for believers to, yeah, take that role, I think
To
that's
love and
good.
respect what God has given us, to care for it, and to treat it the way that we would want.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't want a stranger coming into your backyard and destroying it,
Right.
or littering on it, or, you know, or pouring chemicals on it.
Right,
Use it, not abuse it.
yeah. It's our responsibility, and it's a good thing.
He says it right here. He gave mankind dominion, stewardship, and responsibility.
Yeah.
Responsibility.
I want to fly,
The big
put
problem
a
today.
fly in the ointment for a second.
You?
Yeah.
Shocker.
No, but I was just thinking about it because we always saying that we want to put the control in God's hands. We try to control everything so much in a more of a microcosm way. Isn't this more of a macrocosm way to let God control it and we can't control everything? You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Not really.
so we're saying, like, in our daily lives, we try to control everything, and we have to give it to God. In the same way, on a larger level, with the planet, in a macro way, we have to give it to God too, in the same way, don't we?
While being accountable and responsible for our
Yeah,
actions.
yeah. For us, again, for us, for us to understand our role, man is given, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, rule over it. There's a lot to that, but there's a lot of responsibility. It could also be saying you're going to be fruitful, you're going to multiply, you're going to fill the earth, you're going to subdue it, you're going to rule over it, do it well. You know, understand your role, and out of that role, act. You know, just like with anything else.
Man is a vice regent of God on this earth.
Yeah, co-ruler.
And to give it back to God, God's gonna say, no.
Yeah.
You're responsible for this. I'm
Right.
giving you the stewardship over this. And so, you know, we're not gonna throw it back at him, because what
Fix
happens is
this.
that, and you talked about this, there are things in process. Things grow, things mutate, things, but they don't become other things. And they can overgrow a whole city if we shirk our responsibility that way. By the way, most of the other world views don't hold to this.
Right.
Buddhism, what do they believe about the world and about us? Anybody know?
Reincarnation.
We're no better than an ant,
Yeah, reincarnation.
Oh,
you
right,
know?
right.
Zen Buddhism and so on, the ant and us.
That ant might
We're all
actually be your ant.
equal.
We're all equal. We're all equal.
Right.
And we're living
You know, it
in
might actually be their
the view of time and creation. They're circular.
I don't know how Buddhists make it down the street.
What's that?
I don't even know how they make it down the street with all the ants.
Well, right, 'cause
I'm not
you-
trying to make fun of
God
them.
forbid you step on them.
What I'm
Yeah.
saying is that
Oh, yeah.
this is in contrast and contradistinction to many of the worldviews that are out there right now, let alone back then. Go ahead. Sorry.
Excellent.
But do we take the responsibility too far? Do we like say, okay, so we gotta take over this thing that's happened
Do
naturally
you
in
take it
nature?
too far?
I mean,
No.
Okay, but so
What
you're
about the
you're
accountability?
seeing some people that are, and so some people do. But again, it's out of fear rather than. But they're not believers. They're not acting on this. They're controlling out of fear.
Right.
But this, I can't control what the government does. I can vote, but I can't control what they do.
Right.
But I can know the truth, and I could be a good citizen and help people to understand. You know.
Right, and then you have the
and trust God
EPA.
with what I disagree with.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. We trust God
Yeah.
and, so, and don't try to control it. Some of the things that we're trying to.
So I want to move on, but there's a sense of control. So yeah, always have to define terms.
Yeah.
But you know what you mean by control. All I know is God, these words, and I don't want to, but fill the earth, subdue it.
Okay.
Sounds like control a little bit, rule over it.
Responsibility.
Sounds like it's got a little bit, you know. So there is responsibility there. You know, control. Yeah, none of us likes the word control, but
Well, he says
But
stewardship
maintain.
in here, stewardship is not control. Stewardship is
Doing.
moving.
Moving.
It's
Caring.
moving with it. So if you look up stewardship, it's not a control, it's
Caring.
guiding.
helping it to
Correct.
to be its best
Correct.
in a sense.
Well, and even if, I'm sure if
All
you
right.
broke apart rule over in the Bible, it would be something wonderful from God. It's not a fear-based control.
Yeah.
Not always.
Sin.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, I was gonna say, chapter 2, 3.
5.
5, is it 5?
With Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that 5?
I think it's 5.
And it's what the sin is crouching at the door
It's
to.
4.
4.
We did it
Yeah.
in Sunday school this morning.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool. You should.
There you go. Go
Yeah.
ahead, man.
Jim, be quiet. Cheryl.
What is it? What was it?
Go ahead.
Oh, just when Cain was angry because God accepted Abel's
Yes.
sacrifice instead of his
Right.
offering, and God told Cain, you know, sin is crouching at your door, and then after that is when Cain went and killed Abel.
Right.
That's when, it's, in other words, you have to subdue it. He's
Yes.
telling,
Yeah.
God is
Same
pleading
word.
with Cain to subdue what is going to try to
Right
overcome
up
you.
inside of him.
Yeah,
And so it's not used always in a positive way. It's a
but
well,
he didn't
it's-
subdue it.
What's that?
He didn't subdue
No,
it.
he
Yeah.
didn't.
He should have.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
All right. God made animals and he made man and animals vegetarians at first. Again, there's no death before sin. So man didn't eat animals. Animals didn't eat animals. But God says plants. Yeah. But then there's the argument. Well, there was death because all these plants died, and there's people who talk about killing all the plants. in the Bible, plants they're not living souls. They're not living beings. Yes, they have a kind of life where they grow and produce fruit, but they don't have life like God talks about with the whole living. That's where I had a really good quote on this on my other sheet. But they're not living beings in God's eyes as man's are. So humans have a body. We have blood. And Leviticus 17:11 talks about, the blood is the life. But we have body, we have blood, we have a spirit. We are living beings. Animals have bodies and blood, not spirit, but they're living beings. And so it's okay for those who talk about killing animals or killing plants or whatever. It's like, man, if you don't let me kill animals, you don't let me kill plants, I don't know what the heck I'm going to eat. And it was so, verse 30, man and woman sourced out of dirt and fully human that day. They didn't evolve from a lesser species. They weren't pulled out of a larger population. That's a big thing. Some people say, well, they were the first to emerge out of a worse species. Others say, no, there was already a big population because there's no way you could have that many people. So there's a big population, and God just chose this couple to deal with. What's wrong with either of those? What's wrong with thinking, okay, well, they were the first to emerge out of a lesser species? There's a million things wrong. Come on.
Well, because that's not what it says. That's not what God said.
That's enough for me.
Come on, you got something up your sleeve.
Sorry.
No, that's very good. God's word does not allow for that.
Right.
In any natural, normal reading of God's word, it does not allow that. Genesis 1, Genesis 2. Well, then what about the other one, being taken out of a larger population, and now God is blessing this couple and starting with them? What's the matter with that? Besides that it's not what God says. What else is wrong? Think of the gospel.
We're all created equal.
We're all created equal. Now all of a sudden we're not.
Right.
In the beginning.
And I just think of the passage where it says, through one man sin entered into the world, and so through one man.
Through that first Adam,
Adam.
sin entered into the world, and all sinned because all. But then also Jesus is the last
Yes.
Adam. He died for what race? Adam's race, human race, which is the same thing. There's no other. There's only one race. We all do know that, the human race. But he died for Adam's race. He died. And if there's other people that have came from these other people, well, I guess actually if during Noah's day they've all been wiped out. So that kind of kills my theory. But we're all from one race, Adam and Eve, not from different groupings that this group came out of. The other thing with Genesis 2:7, God has Adam, and he creates the body out of dirt, and then he breathes his life into him, and then that body became a life, not a life-giving spirit, but a living being, a nephesh, a living soul. And so we're sourced out of dirt, but fully human. And then Eve came out of his side, and this is how God says he did it. And to reject that, to come up with other ways, we add a lot of problems. God's all he made, and it was very good. Order, design, product. Also, there's no death, there's no disease, there's no animal attacks, there's no violence, there's no suffering. All was very good. And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day. It all took place on one day. What did Jesus think? Yeah, Jesus confirms it. Mark 10:6, from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. From the beginning of creation, not a billion years later, from the beginning of creation. If the universe is billions of years old, Jesus misspoke. But he doesn't. Adam and Eve existed from the beginning. And Jesus was there in the beginning, remember? In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Everything that has been made by him, through him. Jesus is there, and he says, from the beginning, God made them male and female. And in Matthew 19:4, have you not read, this is Jesus again, that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. But again, from the beginning, he created them. And not just from the beginning of mankind, but from the beginning, in the beginning, God created. Now here's another passage I stumbled on. God said, God said, I will send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they will kill, and some they will persecute, so that the blood of all the prophets shed since the foundation of the world may be charged against this generation, from the blood of Abel, who was the first son mentioned, of Adam and Eve, from him to the blood of Zechariah. But since the foundation of the world, not a million years later, not billions of years later, but from the foundation. It's neat that he puts that together right there. So today we're just really looking at God's word on this, as opposed to all the arguments or anything. But before we look at the final thing, it's good for us to realize God's word is trustworthy. We can bank everything on it. He's not trying to pull one over on us. And when he says things that the world cracks up at or mocks or cannot believe, we are blessed when we believe him. We are blessed when we find our faith in him. But this topic, there is so much support for in scientific circles. There's so much support for it, and that's what we'll look at more the next times we're together. But I do want to point out these two, and one, this is from Masters in Genesis. The other was from the Natural History Museum. But Neanderthal man, because everybody talks about Lucy. In fact, I saw an article on Lucy probably a month ago. I'll talk. Neanderthal man. Neanderthal man was discovered in 1856 in a limestone cave. The specimen, I'm not going to read all this, but what happened was an Irish geologist, skip down here, he re-examined the fossil skull. Darwinians argue that Neanderthal was an ape-like creature, while many critical of Darwin, like the great anatomist Rudolf Virchow, he argued that Neanderthals were human in every respect, though some appeared to be suffering from rickets. So some are saying it's ape, some are saying it's human. Over 300 Neanderthal specimens have been found throughout the world. These men were characterized by prominent eyebrow ridges like Australian Aborigines. They were large-boned with a very powerful build. However, none of those features fall outside the range of normal human anatomy. And the biased, inaccurate views prevailed until 1957, when anatomists re-examined, and these aren't Christian anatomists, these are just anatomists, re-examined one of the French Neanderthals and determined that the individual did suffer from severe arthritis, which affected the vertebrae, which made him bend over. The jaw had also been affected, and so the things about him were caused by what was it? What did I say? Yeah, arthritis. Their report stated, if Neanderthal man could be reincarnated and placed in a New York subway, provided he were bathed, shaved, and dressed in modern clothing, it is doubtful whether he would attract any more attention from some of his other denizens.
Wow.
Bottom line, it was a human species.
Got old.
Got rickets, but these others too. So there's over 300 of them. They're not apes. They're not, they were humans. Just, they look different. Built-down man was presented in 1912 as a missing link. The fraud was uncovered in 1953. According to the Natural History Museum, results showed that the skull and jaw fragments were of two different species. a human and an ape. Somebody put them together, probably an orangutan. Scratches on the surface of the teeth, so they scratched the sharp teeth, made them flat. Has anybody heard of Piltdown Man?
Yeah, I've heard of
Okay,
it.
when I was
Peking, man, is that the
yeah,
same guy?
yeah.
King.
No, not Peking, because this is in England. There's even an old surfer band called the Piltdown Men.
Wow.
Were they fake too?
Peking
Milli
man
Vanilli?
is also a fraud.
Yeah, they're all of them. If you see this
Artificially steamed.
little chart right here, a Neanderthal, Homo erectus, Australopithecus, Lucy, Homo, the other one. My eyes aren't good enough. Oh, you know what? You can't see.
Ardipithecus.
Yeah, there are little arrows. So Neanderthal, then there's an arrow. Sorry, it doesn't come. Human, Homo erectus, human, Australopithecus, ape. The other one, human, Artie, I remember hearing that one. Ardipithecus or whatever was ape. And yeah, Homo sapiens, human. So again, scratches on the surface of the teeth were found, visible under the microscope. They revealed that the teeth had been filed down to a pure human. They also discovered that most of the finds from the Piltdown site had been artificially stained to match the local gravel. And so I don't know why they needed to do that, but they stained them. Oh yeah, to make it look like that's where they were from. And their conclusion, Piltdown Man was an audacious fake and a sophisticated scientific fraud.
Wow.
Wow.
Many
Go a long
of
way
them,
on.
I don't know if it was Peking, but they were like, the bones were found like within a 2-mile range, and they put them together.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is a big thing. I was raised with all these names, and I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys are or not, but
I didn't
they've
know
all
this.
been proven false
I
already.
didn't know this about Piltdown.
Who's the scientists are sinners too?
That's right. Scientists they have a view, and they don't want to give up that view. And when it's hard to give up a view, it's hard. It'd be very hard for me to give up this. It'd be hard. It's hard for them to give up that view. But if they give up that view, and there was a God, that changes everything. So I mean, they've got this is war, and
Yeah.
this is a huge.
Spiritual
I guess
war.
it's just like when you tell your wife you want something, you find an argument for it,
Yeah.
or vice versa, your wife wants something, she finds an argument for it.
You're
So
never
it's
gonna
it's
let go.
basically similar to that, they're finding documentation or making up documentation to
Support
Yeah.
narrative.
do their argument.
Yeah. That's really good, Christine.
I think my other issue always with evolution has been that if we evolved from apes, why are there still apes?
Yeah.
So if,
I've wondered that too.
yeah, like, why do we need both if we came from them? And yes, like, you know, there's DNA that shows that we are similar to gorillas. Like, if you look at the way a gorilla takes care of its baby, you're like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
But if we came from them, why do we
Yeah.
both?
If they all
Still
evolved out of
exist.
that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, why aren't there
They had a different diet.
transitional
And there's
species?
similarities
Yeah.
to
They should be
kangaroos too,
existence
right? The
today.
way they.
Yeah.
There isn't.
Yeah. So,
Right? They're similar to kangaroos.
so the fact that apes do, and I think they're chimpanzees are what they claim or closest to, but the fact that they are similar in some bone structure and other ways, you can teach a 5-year-old how to pick out a ape skull and a human skull very easily. But the fact that they are very similar, does that prove that we came from them, or does that prove what? What else could that prove?
Same creator.
Same creator,
Yeah.
same designer,
That's right.
same, yeah, perfect.
Can you say similar species but not the same
No.
species?
No. Because animal,
Different.
man is so far above
It's just a
animal.
design.
We can kill animal, they can't
Right,
kill us.
okay,
We can
okay.
eat animal, they can't eat us, even though they try. You know, yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't eat it.
we can raise dogs, dogs can't raise us, even though Mowgli.
But we're both mammals, right?
Both mammals, but whale's a mammal too.
Yeah.
Right,
design
okay,
of the-
right, that's, I guess, what I was thinking.
It's the design, you know, you can have a design
Yeah.
for
Right,
different
right.
things. You know, the same design for different things.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Similar
the jaw,
design,
Yeah,
the four
Similar.
yeah.
appendages, you
Yeah.
know, the hair, the eyes.
the reason they found Lucy is ape as opposed, but that's still super highly debatable. But there's one of the museums, I can't remember which, in New York City. They used to have Lucy as a man, as a human,
Early human.
Yeah, early human, when you first walked in. Now, they changed that. They have her because they realized that her arms were made for swinging and stuff,
She was
as
a
opposed.
chimp, right.
But they still, so they put that at the front, but they moved the other one into another section. They never did get rid of it. But they have the more accurate one up front. It's hard to give up an argument.
Yeah.
That article, what you just said, I'm not going to probably be able to find it, but yeah, a flu whale is a hybrid of a fin whale and the blue whale. A new study of blue whale DNA found that around 3.5% of a blue whale's genome is actually the result of interbreeding with fin whales. And I'm getting to this.
They're both whales.
Now, in the evolution, okay, so let me just, furthermore, it turns out that the resulting flues are fertile and are producing further hybridized offspring. So they found this new whale. And while these whale hybrids have been known for a long time, this new study revealed the true scale of the hybridization, and it was much greater than was assumed. So they thought it was another whale, but it's a cross. And here's the thing. In the evolutionary worldview, this interbreeding is surprising. Consider this statement from the popular science article reporting on the study. As the study notes, this is fairly remarkable. These are evolutionists saying, this is fairly remarkable since the pair diverged from each other on the evolutionary family tree 8.35 million years ago. After 8 million years, it would make sense from an evolutionary perspective that these whales would be so different that they would no longer be able to produce offspring with one another. And yet it appears that they do it quite frequently. These hybrids are an evolutionary puzzle defying definitions of and expectations for the species.
There's another one.
And so,
So
in
this is
other
also
where
words,
is that
mutts.
from?
they're not
Mhm.
millions
There's
of
also
years
mutts,
old.
like you can take a purebred
Yeah.
lab and a purebred beagle and create a mutt. you
Yeah.
know, like so.
Yeah.
yeah, beagle
I
hunter.
own a Chihuahua lab mix. How? I'm not sure. But I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
No idea.
But here, so for us, it makes sense. But for them, evolutionists, this is very puzzling. Because 8.35 million years ago, they separated.
Wow.
So why are they now coming back together?
Wow.
You know,
Because it hasn't really been.
because it hasn't been 8.35 million years and they didn't separate. They have only been around for as long as God put them here, fully developed as that species or that type fully developed, but within that type, there's evolution. Again, God didn't bring every kind of cow or dog onto the ark. He brought dog, paradogs on the ark, paracattle on the ark, but within, that creative design. And even with humans, Adam and Eve were probably not white, but they were probably not black, I mean, they're probably something in between or whatever, but they had within them all the DNA for every other ethnicity that has come across.
Along with their kids.
And so you asked this question, what time is it? Oh,
12:35.
okay.
12:35.
I'll end with this, in Genesis 11, with the Tower of Babel, because you asked, how did all these different ethnicities, every country, all this happen? The Tower of Babel, everybody was together. Everybody looked alike, everybody sounded alike, they had the same language, they had the same goals. They were building the tower because they were the best, they were going to reach God. God dispersed them. How? What did God do? He gave them all different languages. And now all of a sudden, I'm not hanging out with you guys anymore. I'm hanging out with you because we both speak the same language. We're going over here, and there's others who speak our language. That's who we go to. But then you took all your DNA, all your traits, and you isolated from others. We isolated with others of our language, and all of that happened. And now God, because he said, go and fill the earth, they weren't filling it. They were all congregating in the one metro land. or whatever. And he had them all go, but they took all their stuff with them, isolated, and now you have high cheekbones here, you have blondes here, you have brunettes here, you have dark skin, you have lights, all of that from within those pockets, But so again, the Bible explains so many things that you don't even know it's explaining, at the time. All right, anything else?
When was the Mount St. Helens explosion where the bowl cap was petrified?
I think it was 1980.
1980.
1980.
I was there,
Gotta research that.
Yeah, you were there.
Pictures.
I got the picture. No, I forgot it.
No.
Forgot it.
Oh,
right.
it's looking so much.
That's right.
No,
That was 1,000
Were you
miles.
downwind, or?
I was
In
in,
Montana.
Oak Harbor is above it. So
So
I was
how-
at a
We were
Navy base above where everything came. But I flew over it.
Yeah.
After
Military.
the scientists that we had on had to fly over and see how big the mound was. Do some readings or something.
Yeah.
So with the
We won't
exception of a few days possibly, I don't recall, we're as old as the earth. How old is the earth?
So that's where people are gonna, for me, and I know Jim will give you an answer at some point or whatever, but if you take, you tell me,
I'm rusty.
So here's what I know. He says he did it in 7 days, or 6 days. And every one of those days, he did what he said. By the end of 6 days, it was perfect, it was complete. Stars, everything was perfect and complete. But on the 6th day, he put man on earth.
Okay.
And he had animals, and that man was Adam and Eve. There weren't billions of years of cavemen,
Right.
Australopithecus, all these things that are proven either ape or man. They were part of those that went a certain way, and their high eyebrows and stuff became. So I am a very young earther. And I think what gives the appearance of billions of years is a flood that changed everything. So I'm 10,000, something like that.
And then volcanoes that have petrified things, but
Volcanoes
that
and
theory's been,
and that flood, there were volcanoes, the earth, things under the earth were given, things over the earth were fallen. It was a crazy, tumultuous.
so then we're talking BC, before Christ, before the flood. So how old are we?
Mankind?
Uh-huh.
I can't argue from scripture that we're more than, yeah, I mean, the Bible gives genealogies, but some would argue that it leaves some out. I'm not sure if it does or not. If it leaves some out, but it's not leaving hundreds of thousands of years out or
Right.
anything.
Right.
So I'm an early Earth guy, and I only say this because this is such a minority view. I mean, this is a very minority view, and I kind of want this out here to give people the option to believe that it's not billions of years old or whatever, because everything we're hearing, it is billions of years old. And so if it was like a 50-50 thing, hey, let it be. But I don't think this is out there. I don't think people are talking about this. You'll hear from anybody, anywhere, that we're billions of years old.
More people talk about flat Earth than young Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't hear young Earth unless you're looking for it. So I take it, I believe it.
How old are we?
You're saying 10,000.
I think, yeah, 10,000 or less.
10,000 or less.
8,000, something like that.
Okay.
In the beginning.
But I also know that sounds in this world, that sounds absolutely ridiculously stupid.
Well, indoctrination is powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
But
Been around
again,
for a long time.
I wanna look at the word, and I know there's other arguments, but I still, and there's, the thing that we look at next time we get together is probably my biggest reason why there was no evolution. The biggest theological reason why there was no
And we're
evolution.
not gonna be here.
Then 3 weeks. I'm not,
Give us a little
No, I'm not-
teaser.
Yeah, teaser.
Give us a
Can I have
teaser.
class on the 3rd with?
You can
No.
have
Okay.
Yeah,
Big Mac.
we're taking off to
Really
the
big
10th.
Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah, big mouth, yeah.
So we miss next
Look at
week
that.
and then, then the 10th.
Who
No
wrote it?
class next weekend?
Correct.
Okay.
We're gonna be at the VFW next week, so we
Right.
don't know where to
So there's
meet.
no class the
And the
next
following,
week?
the following week is the meal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
next
right,
one's the
right,
meet,
right,
yeah.
okay.
So it's gonna be.
So no
Okay,
creation
yeah, that's right.
class for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So,
For 10,000
what's
years.
the next creation class about? I'm trying to get a
Oh,
little.
what's it about?
I'm just trying to get a little teaser.
Yeah, okay, I can tell you what it's about. It's a, oh, gosh.
What are appetites? You already have.
I can't remember if it's about the flood, but the main, okay, how do I whet your appetites without giving it away? It has to do with the result of sin.
Ah,
And there's no sin until Adam and Eve.
right,
So I'll just let it be at that.
okay.
Are you
All
gonna go
within a
into,
week.
are you gonna go
Well,
into
actually-
ARC at all or any of that stuff?
Yeah, we'll go into, I'm not gonna go into the, like the measurements of the ark